Hi guys, how you doing? Just wanted to do a wee video ahead of the last few weeks of training. The session's up on the app for tomorrow and Tuesday. It's another really strength focused session, so um, I'm hoping you're starting to understand and sort of really appreciate the differences between like strength training and other styles of training, like circuit training, for example. Obviously, on yesterday. So yesterday? It was yesterday. We had that circuit session in the gym in replace of the running, and it was great. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good vibe, that amount of people in the room, especially when you just go on with it and it's just continuous work. Obviously, circuit training, we were able to cover different muscle groups in a different way, like muscular endurance of certain muscle groups, particularly, for example, the calf raises would be one example. We did a very specific exercise for your hip flexors with the banded knee drives. So circuit training for me is one of those types of training that is so beneficial, especially from an athletic point of view, that would sort of come second for me to foundational strength, which is the sort of stuff you're going to we've been doing week in week out, like try to build your actual strength. When it comes to strength training, I want everyone to try and remember a few different things. First thing is when you hear the like of terms like squats and dips and lunges. I think some people like associate, like, if you're doing a squat, your strength training. If you're doing a lunge, your strength training. Like those movement those exercises are movements. That doesn't mean you're strength training. And I think that's an important thing that I want to try and point out and for you get you to think about. Like, these are just descriptions of types of movements, like a deadlift, a hip hinge pattern. Like, you're just moving your body in specific ways. It doesn't mean you're strength training. Strength training has a really specific definition attached to it that results in your body becoming physically stronger over a period of time. So if you're just performing a movement, it won't necessarily get stronger. So a squat isn't a strength training exercise. Like, it's a movement, and what defines it or determines whether or not it's a strength training movement or your strength training is the intensity in which you do it. And the intensity in which you do it comes down to a few things: the number of reps and sets you do, and the amount of weight that you're moving or resistance that you're moving in relation to your current strength levels, or in relation to what your current muscles the force that they can produce currently. And over time, they adapt. If you continually overload those muscles, they adapt and they get stronger. So this is something I wanted to try and think about in relation to the movements, because some people, often beginners, will say, "Oh God, it doesn't get any easier, does it? Like the training, and that's exactly right. It doesn't. And paradoxically, as it sounds, the stronger you get, the more capable you get at the sessions, the harder it should become. It's the opposite of what you think it might be. Yeah, you might become more tolerant of it because your body is getting more used to the idea of being in discomfort and that kind of thing. But the actual fact of reality is that it should get harder, not easier. So, for example, we're at the moment, I'm saying to you, right, you've got 24, 25 minutes, and in that time, I want you to do 4 sets of the exercises. Like, for example, you've got 25 minutes to do 4 sets of squats, or 4 sets of hip thrusts, and 4 sets of chin ups. Now, if you're a beginner to these exercises, and as a result of being a beginner to these exercises, and you've not got the same level of strength as you would be if you were doing it for 6 months, you're going to find that easier. That goal of doing 4 sets in 25 minutes is going to feel much easier, and it's much more achievable for you than it will be for someone who's been training for 5 years, who's developed and developed their strength over time. Like, for anyone that's just starting out in their journey, and for example, they've tried to do an isometric chin up hold, you'll realise you would have done it the first time, probably this block, and realise how difficult it is just to hold yourself off the ground for a couple of seconds. So it takes up a huge amount of energy. And in order to do that again, you would need to then take rest. You need to rest before you try it again, because you'll probably notice quite quickly that after holding yourself for 3 seconds, 3 times in a row, by the fourth one, your arms just drop. Like, they just kind of give way. So you need to allow time in order for your body to essentially regenerate, like, the energy system that is predominantly responsible for producing huge amounts of force in a very short space of time, which is the creatine phosphate system. You need to give it time to regenerate, which takes about 3 to 5 minutes for basic strength exercises. It takes much longer the more elite you become. So if you're taking it to the nth degree, I've mentioned this before, that like an elite sprinter would take 1 minute of rest for every 10 meters sprinted. So if they sprint just 60 meters all out, they would then take 6 minutes rest as a minimum to ensure that they can match that intensity in later reps. So if you then bring that back to the sessions, so if you're someone that can do, let's for it's 10 chin-ups, for example, that's going to take so much out of you, and it's going to deplete your creatine phosphate system so much that you're going to need to take 4 minutes or so to have any chance of replicating that again. And that's one of the reasons why I keep saying to folk, like when it comes to these exercises like bench press, chin-ups, whatever it might be, you can't go to failure. You can't just like, oh, I'll try and do as many as I can, because it depletes the energy source or the energy system so much that you then need to take longer if you're going to then replicate it again, and you won't. And that's why, let's suppose you try to do as many chin-ups as you can every time you come in, you might get 5 as a maximum, and it's a maximum effort. It means that the chances of you then doing another 3 or 4 sets of 5 are so slim, because you're just not got enough time for your creatine phosphate system, for example, to come back up to allow you to then do it again. You would need to take much longer rest. So that's why I'm trying to say you have to have a more measured approach to it. You need to sort of, if you can do 5 as a maximum, then you should be starting off at maybe 3 or 4 reps and try and get consistent broad sets of 3 to 4 reps for 3 to 4 sets. And then in your last set, then you can go for it, or your second last set, then you can go to your max effort, because you're coming to the end of the session anyway, or the end of the sets. So I just wanted to bear that in mind. It's not about racing around getting as much sets out as you can. So if you for example do 6 sets in the session on Monday or Tuesday of this week of all the 3 exercises, that's not better. It's a sort of an indication to you that you're not working hard enough. And it might, again, that might sound paradoxical in your head, because you're thinking, oh my God, this is knackering. I'm so out of breath. I'm sweating more because I'm doing more sets. But that's exactly the reason that determines that you're not working as hard as you could be. Because if you were working as hard as you could be in terms of matching the intensity required to get stronger, you would need more rest in order to get the same amount out. So that's why it's really important that you should be tracking what you're doing, your reps, your sets and your weights. Because if you're not tracking it, the chances are all you're trying to do is I'll just go with the 12s because I know I can do them for sets of 8, so I'm going to do them. And you can just stay within your comfort zone and keep doing them. Whereas if you went to say, like, I'm going to try the 16s, it will be a monumentally bigger effort. It will probably tire you out more, and it will probably mean you need to take more rest in order to then do it again. As opposed to, okay, I'll try a wee set of 16s. That was really tough. Like, I'll just go and drop to the 12s now, and then I'll just stick to what I'm comfortable with. So in order to like keep the intensity higher, with the weights higher, the reps at a specific amount, you need to allow for the rest. So I'm hoping that makes a bit of sense, because it is a bit of a confusing concept. You shouldn't be chasing a feeling. And I sometimes think with training, people chase a feeling, and the feeling they chase is they want to feel out of breath, they want to feel sweaty. That's what they think they need in order to allow themselves to believe that they've done a good workout. And it's not the case. That's why cardio exercises in particular are so popular, I think, because people chase that feeling, that adrenaline it gives you, and the endorphin release it gives you, which is fair enough, is a good reason to train, but it depends on what you're doing it for. If you're trying to get stronger and gradually and continuously develop, you've got to remember that the foundation of it all is strength, because it's the one thing you lose as you get older. Therefore, more than anything, that should be the one thing you're looking to progress on at all times. I'm hoping that makes sense. You should see strength as almost something that, or strength gains and progressions is something that can be a lifelong progression. There is no end point. There's also no start point, because you're alive. If you're alive, that's where you start from. So sometimes I think it's not helpful for your own mindset to think, oh, I can't start yet because 1, I'm not fit enough, or 1, I'm not strong enough, or 2, or maybe I should not come. Maybe I've missed too many weeks, so I'll wait until the next block starts. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, because there is no start point and there's no end point. Unfortunately, yeah, we live in a world we need to work by dates and times, and it's convenient for our schedules to have a week 1 and a week 2. I understand that, but at the end of the day, all you're doing is performing movements, and you have to meet the movement where you are with your strengths. So all you're doing is like performing the movement and then doing it to the ability that you currently have based on where you are with your training, and then it's just a case of building from there. And that's why the training is suitable for beginners and people that are advanced, because there is no discrimination when it comes to strength training over someone who's new and who's not new. Yeah, they need to learn the movements first, I get that, but beyond that, there's no real discrimination, because it's just a case of like meeting the movement where you are. So for example, if you can't do press ups, the focus could be eccentric press ups. If you can't do press ups, you can be building strength in the movement similar to press up via bench press, because then you just adjust the weight in the bench to facilitate your current strength levels, which might not be strong enough yet to perform a full press up. If you can do press ups, then the next progression might be dips. If you can do dips, the next progression is weighted dips. The next progression after that could be, it's just a case of adding weight. There's no end point. There's no end point to that. Another progression might be weighted dips on the gymnastic rings because of the instability. Another progression might be to perform the weighted dips on the gymnastic rings through a deeper range of movement. So these are all, there's literally a lifelong progression when it comes to strength, and equally there's a start point that can be zero, because as long as you're alive and can move, that's your start point. There is no, I need to be fit enough or strong enough to do a certain thing. It's just, you start where you start and then you try and build from there. You might miss a few weeks, so you might fall back a little bit. You just get back to doing the movement and then build it back up. And it is a bit of a, it can be a yo-yo, it can be up and down. That's just how it works. I'm not as strong as I once was, but I would like to think I could get back to it if I get a nice 6 months run of training. And it's not a reason to not do it. It's just, you have to just never get off, I guess. If you want to, you'd never let go fully, and that way you're going to be able to continue to train and find a motivation and a reason to do it. Because you only, like, yeah, it only fails if you stop altogether. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, I hope what I've said makes a bit of sense. I really enjoyed the circuit at the weekend. I'm going to try and get a couple more of them in over the period at some point, because it was a good buzz, and it's, as I said, it works the body in a different way, and that facilitates and complements the foundational strength that you do during the week. So try and come in with a plan on Monday and Tuesday, based on what you've been doing. If you don't have a plan and you're not quite sure how to approach it, please come and ask me. Like, I enjoy trying to come up with a plan for you, but I need to know that you've not got one in the first place if you've not. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, hope that makes sense, and see you guys soon.